Hello, everybody. Thank you all so much for coming back to the Queen Tulsa Show. We are so excited to be able to assist you on this rising. Secrets unveiled how the Cassie lawsuit sparks P. Diddy's trial impacting lives. And this is going to be actually part three. We're going to actually catch right back up. I believe that we're on page 25 and we only have like what 10 more pages left because it's 25 out of 35. And so let's get into it. In this powerful video, we follow Miss Ventura's courageous journey as she embarks on the path to rebuilding her life and career after enduring years of trauma. After checking into an inpatient rehabilitation center, she confronts the deep seated effects of the abuse she suffered at the hands of Mr. Combs. Through intensive therapy and medical care, Ms. Ventura begins to heal from the physical and psychological scars left by over a decade of violence, fear, and exploitation. Join us as we explore her story of resilience, strength, and the ongoing battle for recovery. This video serves as a reminder of the importance of support and healing in the face of adversity. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Let's go ahead and pull this piece of content up. All right, so let's go ahead and get back over here. Okay, so let's get into it. This is where we left off. Okay, so we started off at left off at 142. To rebuild her life and her career, Ms. Ventura needed to completely reinvent herself. She checked herself into inpatient treatment at a rehabilitation center where she first confronted the extent of the trauma she lives with. She required intensive therapy and other medical care to recover from Mr. Combs' abuse, and she will forever live with the physical and psychological repercussions of the over a decade of violence, fear, and exploitation she endured. Although Ms. Ventura was unable to speak up against the years of abuse she endured at the hands of Mr. Combs, she has since been able to rebuild her life and confront her trauma. Thanks to the passage of the New York Survivors Act. Okay. So I believe I read that part. Oh no, 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 no. In California's SA Accountability and Cover Up Act, she's now ready and able to also confront her abuser and to hold him and those who enabled his abuse accountable for their actions. All right. Page 26. Mm-hmm. Page 26. Plaintiff repeats and realleges each and every allegation, all of the proceedings paragraphs, as if fully set forth herein. Plaintiff is a victim of trafficking within the meaning of 18 U.S.C. 159A and B, and is therefore entitled to bring a civil action under 18 U.S.C. 1595. The defendant's acts and omissions taken separately and or together as outlined above constitute a violation of 18 U.S.C. 1595, specifically defendant Sean Combs perpetuated trafficking of Ms. Ventura by requiring her to engage in force S acts in multiple jurisdictions, and all defendants benefited from Mr. Combs' venture by holding Ms. Ventura, an artist signed with defendant Bad Boy Records and otherwise employed by other defendant Doe corporations captive to Mr. Combs' demands and desires. At all relevant times, defendants participated in and facilitated the harboring of transportation to plaintiff for purposes of S induced by force, fraud, coercion. The defendant corporations have financially and otherwise benefited as a result of these acts and omissions by keeping Mr. Combs, the volatile and explosive owner of the defendant corporations, satisfied. They benefited from facilitating his behavior to the extent it kept the merciful music mogul happy and kept Miss Ventura obedient to Mr. Combs and the corporation's interests. Defendant Combs and defendants Bad Boy Records, Bad Boy Entertainment, and Doe Corps 1 through 10 formed a venture as defined by 18 USC 1591, given that they constituted a group of two or more individuals associated in fact, whether or not a legal entity. So, with this right here, this is a lot. Yeah, this is a lot, right? Like I said, with Cassie, her attorneys that she had, they really laid it out. They really was making a point. Okay. As a direct and proximate result of defendant's unlawful conduct as alleged here and above, plaintiff has suffered physical injuries, severe emotional distress, and anxiety, humiliation, embarrassment, post-traumatic stress disorder, economic harm, and other consequential damages. Plaintiff also seeks reasonable attorney's fees as provided under 18 USC 1595A. Second cause of action. Violation of the New York Services for a Victim of Human Trafficking, NY Serves Law. Okay, so that's it. 43-BBC against all defendants. Plaintiff repeats and realleges each and every allegations in all of the proceedings paragraphs as if fully set forth herein. Okay, so is this okay, so that's pretty much let's see. Okay, so it says plaintiff. Okay, so I read that part. Plaintiff is a victim of S trafficking within the meaning of New York penal law, 230.34, and is therefore entitled to bring a civil action under New York SOC Service SCRV 43BB. The defendant acts and omissions taken separately and or together as outlined above constitute a violation. Let's go to it. Um, of New York. Okay, so specifically, defendant Sean Combs perpetuated S trafficking of Ms. Ventura by requiring her to engage in forced S acts in the state of New York. And all defendants benefited from Mr. Combs' venture by holding Ms. Ventura, an artist signed with defendant Bad Boys and otherwise employed by defendant, though corporations captive to Mr. Combs' demand desires. At all relevant times, defendant participated in and facilitated in the harboring and transportation of plaintiff for purposes of as induced by force, fraud, or coercion. Okay. The defendant corporation have financially and otherwise benefited as a result of these acts and omissions by keeping Mr. Combs the vital to its owner of the defendant. Okay, so this is repeating the same thing, but now they are pretty much involved in, his businesses, and pretty much stating the claim that these businesses, people were getting paid to work for him to come get her, and so that's where the RICO comes in, right? The defendant have financially otherwise benefited as a result of these acts and omissions by keeping Mr. Collins about his responsible owner of the defendant corporation satisfied. They benefited from facilitating his behavior to the extent it kept the merciful music mogul happy and kept Miss Ventura obedient. Okay, so this is pretty much repeating the same thing. And then the third case, cause of action, is violation of the California Trafficking Victims Protection. So she laid this on very, very, very thick. Yeah, it just repeats the same thing. Mhm. And so the first cause is battery. Oh, S battery under New York law. Okay, so it's repeating the same thing. Okay, so right here on page 30, the conduct of Mr. Combs described above as willful, wanton, and malicious. At all relevant times, Mr. Combs acted with conscious disregard of plaintiff rights and feelings, acted with the knowledge of or with reckless disregard for the fact that his conduct was certain to cause injury and or humiliation to plaintiff and intended to cause fear of physical injury and or pain and suffering to plaintiff. By virtue of the foregoing, plaintiff is entitled to recover punitive and exemplary damages from Mr. Combs according to proof of trial. According to proof at trial. So she was going to take him to trial. Okay, so she was going to take him to trial, y'all. Let's get up into that. hmm Okay, so this action is timely because it falls within CPLR 214-J and is brought during the 1 year time period set forth in that section. The claims brought herein allege intentional and negligent acts and omission for physical, psychological, and other injuries suffered as a result of conduct that would constitute as offenses as defined in Article 130 of the New York Penal Law, and such acts and or omissions were committed against Ms. Ventura when she was over 18 years of age. The action also falls within California's adult SA law and is brought during the 3 year time period set forth in that action. Child. Okay, so here's the fifth cause. So now they're including California, they're including New York, they're including anywhere where they have traveled to and the laws are there to protect. So now you have SA pursuant to the California S Abuse and Cover Up Accountability Act. Now with this, now this is what I want to know. With this accountability act, so the SA pursuant to the California Abuse and Cover Up Accountability Act. Would people be accountable for their actions? Let me write that down because I'm gonna have to look that up. Okay. So I have to write that down. Hey, Norris Tony, how's it? How are you doing, hon? All right, let me go ahead and get into this. So this is so pretty much they're saying the same. Oh, hold on. Okay, so they're saying the same thing pretty much. The sixth cause is violation of the victims of gender motivated. Um, okay, violation. Okay. Okay, so this is just pretty much okay. Then you got as harassment, gender discrimination, and hostile work environment under New York State human rights. Wow. So listen here. What I want to say is pretty much the way Cassie had this all together. And my thinking of why Diddy settled so quickly is because everything that she had in here, it would prompt subpoenas to go out like hot pockets. I mean, like the newspaper. You know, it would cause. It would definitely cause. Yeah. Uh, and then the eighth is as harassment, gender discrimination. Okay. So they're just adding it to New York and California, wherever they can stick it in. Um, because we know that they said that she was transported. Yeah, so we know she got her judgment, right? Oh y'all, it's a lot. That was a lot to read. Well, we made it through. Hey Norris Tony, how you doing? All right, so we're gonna take a listen to Girl, is that legal? Um, this is going to be what day is this? This is going to be day 5 because I had to catch up on day 5. So, day 5 trial is going to be Cassie, Dawn Richards to testify. This is going to be the morning coverage. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Okay, so I think we've covered this one. No, did we cover it? Um, okay, hold on one second. I think I covered that one already. Give me one second. We said day 5. Uh, um, okay, here. I think we should start right here. Okay, let's start right. No, actually, we're gonna take it back. I'm gonna go to. I'm gonna go to day 6. I'm gonna go to day. Oh,
Shut the F up. How did the passengers respond? We stayed silent the rest of the ride, probably because they knew Cassie wasn't going nowhere. She wasn't going nowhere. So y'all speak up all you're doing is actually possibly making it worse to where she's going to get knocked in between the washer and dryer when she gets home. Don says, I asked myself, if he did that to someone he supposedly loved, what would he do to an employee?
Well, see, this is the thing. Dawn already, like, I don't know why Dawn is acting like she's just so brand new to this. Like, Dawn, this is not the first time. Let's be honest, we all watched how Puffy treated Lorianne Gibson when she was just on there simply trying to, do her job. I mean, very elegant, very, and shout out to Girl. Is that legal? Let me see. Did we put her in the description? We got to put her in the description where you guys can come over and check her out. But I just feel like with Dawn, I'm not discrediting nobody, but there's allegations out there that Dawn wasn't really playing fair, and with the dirty money and all that, it was a lot. It was a lot. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. And actually, here is her link. I'm going to put it in the chat right now. There is her channel. So you guys make sure you get on over there and give her a like, share, and subscribe. All right. So let's go ahead and take a listen.
So I'd approach Mr. Combs with softness. Did you try to intervene in the relationship? No, for my own safety. I'd also say no for your safety, but also no for your career, but also no, because Cassie wasn't going anywhere. At this point, Cassie stayed for, I think it was like 8 more years. Did you see Mr. Combs using substances? Yes. Weed, the big K, Molly, when they call it white girl, opiates. Richard, I never saw that. Who brought him the substances? One Stop. He had it all. One Stop is, I guess, is a distributor's name. One Stop. He had it all, including Plan B birth control. Ooh, I need my gavel. Oh, not the Plan B. I'm jealous. I got to say I'm jealous because back in this day, y'all, and I'm the Plan B connoisseur. Do you know at Costco it's $12.99? Might have gone up a little bit for the tariffs, but FYI, if you ever need Plan B, they sell it at Costco, and you don't have to be a Costco member. You just walk right in and you tell them, "I'm here." Well, I say I'm here for the Plan B, but you don't have to give them all that. You can simply say, I'm here to pick up a prescription. They literally have to let everybody in. But with the Plan B, I know it may seem odd to most normal civilians. It was because he likely didn't, number one, for the FOs and likely for Cassie, etc., but also for his performers. He didn't want them to get pregnant because if you got pregnant, that was going to ruin the tour schedule, the all of that. So, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I'm jealous. The reason I'm saying I'm jealous too, because back in the day when I needed a Plan B, because I was on the pill. Sidebar, I like to tell my business a lot sometimes. I was on the pill, but I was terrified of getting pregnant because my daddy would start crying. I was sure of it if I got pregnant in college. But also because I think I had they give you antibiotics for yeast infection or whatever I had going on. Who knows? I was in college, but they would give you that, and then they would tell you, "Oh, this may not make your birth control work." And I was like, my boyfriend was real stupid back then, but he was fine. I was like, I'm not about to have a stupid baby, not with him at least. And therefore, back then, though, you had to have a visit with your doctor. The doctor had to give you a prescription, and then you could get it back in the day. So to know that not only
Okay, so pretty much she's just laying down what it was, what it wasn't. These are just conversations back and forth, what they were seeing um, in the courtroom, right? She had given, well, Simone had given her life experience, back in the day, it was, expensive or it was hard to get. You had to go through so many channels, but for it to be so accessible, for this guy to have anything, what was his name? On site or whatever it is, he got it all. Let's get into it. We'll listen to a little bit of this and then we'll fast forward. I want to hear about this part.
how often would you hear from Mr. Combs after you left Dirty Money? She says, sporadic. Let me make sure this is big. Hold on, I'm gonna make it bigger. I know y'all don't like it when it's small. I understand. Hold on. I am going to, hold on. She says here, sporadic. Why did you reach out to help Kalina Harper? No further questions. May we have a brief conference at the bench? Sidebar ensues. Now they're talking about Kalina. So here's the thing, Derek. I want to speak to this. And then once this, hey, Cheryl, lawsuit settlements. All right. Here's the thing. I understand Derek is saying that one man RICO trial is a joke. I'm sorry. They should just shut down the whole music industry. Derek, if you're still in the chat, let me know your thoughts. Is it more so that you feel like he should have co-defendants or like in this specific trial, or are you saying that there can't be a RICO because it's just him? Here's what I would say to the latter. To say there can't be okay, number one, for a RICO trial.
Well, before Simone gets into her commentary, I feel like it can be a RICO because I guess it's got to be proven like it's an organization or something like that. I feel like it can be proven because you have the enterprise, you already have that there, and then you have what Cassie said in her lawsuit. What Cassie said in her lawsuit, it's everything that's going on through this trial right now, in my opinion.
Everyone does not have to be tried together. People can be tried subsequent. But in addition, they're not saying this a one-man RICO. You are right, Derek. There is no such thing as a one-man RICO. There isn't. The whole point of RICO is you have to be able to tell other people, somebody is telling other people what to do, and that what to do is something criminal. So it's not a one-man RICO here where he's having different people execute different tasks, which is what I'm going to get into. I'm just waiting for them to kind of do their morning break because I don't want to be, okay, yes, they're back to it. I don't want to be interrupted because this is really important. But what you're going to see is it's not a one-man RICO. It's just there's one man on trial for it right now. But that doesn't mean other people aren't going to be tried for this later. Hold on one second. This is
Okay, so I'm glad she said that because remember y'all earlier. Okay, so to that person's question, let me bring up his question. Let me make sure I can read it. It says, this one-man RICO trial is a joke. I'm sorry, they should just shut down the whole entire music and entertainment industry. But remember when I was asking y'all about the Cover-Up Accountability Act law? Because that one was in California. So that's why I'm going to do some research on that. And I do feel like there's going to be like another trial. I feel like there's going to be another trial. Let's go ahead and zoom on up.
Get an employment lawyer or personal injury lawyer that won't take your case on contingency. Why? Because if you got to pay that lawyer hourly, they have every incentive to drag that thing out. Plus, if it's employment law, that means you were unpaid or underpaid or any of that. So who the hell's going to have money for that? A good plaintiff's lawyer. We have lines of credit. Literally, I can go into a bank, I can give them my caseload, say, these are my cases. These are the $1 million worth of cases that I've settled in the last few years. This is my track record. If I needed some money for an expert, they'll give me a loan for it. Literally, based on the cases that I have. I have a few Uber, Lyft cases, $1 million cases. So they'll say, all right, you going, yeah, okay, you need an expert. That's how come my clients don't pay medical bills. They don't pay them up front. I get all that for free, but I will not pay for that mess book. I don't like Cassie. I know, smart choice. You are not with that lady. You don't look like her. Is that why Diddy? Whoop. Hold on. Let me see if we got an update. Hold on. I'm looking for the update, guys. We need an update. Oh, let me see. I think they're about wrapping with Morgan. All right. Hold on. Morgan's got some more to add. I'm gonna make it bigger. Okay. All right. Morgan has added. And she said the previous text was the last time, or previously in Jamaica, she saw Diddy drag Cassie by the hair, run back, got her purse. She thought Cassie was knocked out, and then she got up and ran into a wooded area. I'm just liking them, so I know what I've already read. What happened next? There were 2 golf carts in the driveway. I got in one, and Sean got in the other. We went in different directions looking for Cassie. Did you find her? Yes. Then we hid in a ditch, whispering. Lord have mercy, she done found Cassie and said, come on, girl, we're going to hide together. So, oh God, you imagine how stressful that has to be as a best friend. You get in one golf cart, her boyfriend gets in another, and the 2 of you and the boyfriend are racing to try and find your friend, only because you know he wants to find her to whoop her tail some more after you previously thought she was knocked unconscious, and you want to find her to save her. What about the incident at Comstock, which is an apartment? Cassie came back with a hoodie covering her face. Then Sean.
Lord, you know what? So we heard that part of it. So I'm just gathering up. What I'm doing is I'm just gathering up research because I have to cover this later on today with Brianna. So let me see. So we got Dawn Richardson. Okay, so give me 1 second. So now we can go right here. And we're gonna catch up. We're just gonna
all the
my
time,
allergies.
but that some of the times what Combs would do is he would have people do his dirty work, whether it was getting rid of people or crimes or beating people up, that sometimes they would do his dirty work. That is sufficient. And then there are certain offenses, which I went over this morning, we'll go into this evening, that they have to prove at least 2 of the 8 offenses.
And that's the thing. They only have to prove 2 out of the 8 to get him, and I feel like they have the case. The feds are not coming if they don't have nothing. When you talk about the videos, when you talk about the coercion, when you talk about the forced labor, when you talk about the I mean, with the escorts and all that, I mean, that's consensual. I mean, if the big part is him and his crew. He had a crew helping him, and it's all about proving all that. Let's get into it.
Listed in the indictment. That's it. They get RICO. All right, here it is. Again, the prosecutor says, as to the means and the methods of the enterprise, Mr. Combs threatening to assault people. While they're waiting for the jury to come back in, it says, here's a court art of Combs's second Georgia lawyer, Nicole Westmoreland. She's an African-American female, as she examined Don Richard this morning. This picture is courtesy of the Inner City Press. All right. Remember, Don Westmoreland is the woman herself who is an S assault survivor. She was R-worded at 19 years old at a Cash Money Records music studio. She ultimately both pursued it criminally, and the guy pled guilty to the R-word, got 3 years.
And y'all peep this out. I'm glad that they brought that up because Birdman, his brother, it was a lot going on right there. It was a lot going on right there. It was definitely a lot going on.
And she took it to trial. That case literally had to go. Initially, it was dismissed at the regular local state court level based on summary judgment, basically saying you can't show that Birdman and his brother should have known that his homeboy who did this was a dangerous person. That was the gist. It got dismissed, appealed all the way up to the Georgia.
But see, this is why you have to be mindful. Even if you're a celebrity, like the people around you, some people will pull a stunt or some, you know what I'm saying? They'll use their, I don't even want to say privilege, but okay, say they're in a space and they wouldn't really be in a space if they didn't know this person. So they're abusing their friendship to kind of like, you know what I'm saying, to do some nefarious things. So definitely got to keep a look out for that. But anywho, we're going to zoom through this.
Supreme Court, where they reinstated her case. A jury found them guilty, and then she settled for an out of court amount. There we go. So I say she's not new to this whole concept. Then the defense attorney says, now we are on cross examination with Carrie Morgan, Cassie's friend. It says the prosecutor said no further questions for Ms. Morgan. Ms. Morgan's testimony, kind of the most significant. She talked about Diddy being upset that her and Cassie were doing substances. He came in, he got a wooden hanger and busted her upside the head with it. And that she received a $30,000 settlement, out of court settlement. She never sued because they gave her $30K, both Diddy and Cassie, back in 2013. Now, I personally am saying she should have got at least six figures. She had a concussion, and it was Diddy and it was Cassie, but whatever. Moving on. So here's the cross-examination of her defense. You were Miss Ventura's best friend since
Hey, how are
04.
you?
Actually, 01, she says.
Hey, girl, hey,
We met
happy
waiting for the
Friday.
Polaroids to develop. I was living in Buffalo, New York, and she was in.
But see, y'all, this is really, I guess I'm not really just into it, the trial like that. I guess, I mean, I am and then I'm not because what we read together in Cassie's lawsuit is pretty much is just in trial. And remember, in Cassie's lawsuit, it said, will such and such at trial. Well, Diddy didn't want to go to trial. He settled within 24 hours, right? And yeah, a few months went by, but I feel like that 30 million was only buying time for her. So it didn't come off as, it was a whole setup and a scheme that she set up because she was already getting heat from the media. And then, okay, she get a lawsuit, then boom, he goes to jail. Then, okay, yeah, it's definitely going to look like this was all because of her. But the whoever is in charge or whoever was working on this case, I think they set it up the way that they did, And then Cassie's pregnant. Okay, now she's pregnant. People are knowing, and so it's a lot going on. Listen here, I want to take a moment to say thank you all so much for coming by. This is, I believe this was like our second or third broadcast within the last 24 hours. If you are just now coming in, please make sure you replay. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you on the next broadcast. So long.